Episode 3: The Secret. The night swirled around Rylan like a dream. He couldn't quite believe he was still standing in the grand ballroom, moving through the crowd like someone who belonged. Lucian's presence beside him gave him an unfamiliar sense of confidence, one he didn't think he'd ever feel in a place like this. As the music played on, Lucian's hand never left his, a subtle but constant reminder that he wasn't alone here. The prince led him in a slow, graceful dance, guiding Rylan across the floor with such ease that it felt as if they had always known each other. But despite the fluidity of their movements, Rylan couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play, something he didn't understand. There was something about Lucian that unnerved him. It wasn't just his confidence or the way people seemed to part around him as if he were royalty. It was the way he looked at Rylan, with an intensity that felt almost too knowing. Rylan's eyes wandered nervously around the room, trying to distract himself from the overwhelming sensation that Lucian could see right through him. The guests around them appeared as if they belonged in the world of luxury and power. They laughed, they danced, they enjoyed themselves, but Rylan felt like an outsider in the midst of it all, despite being swept up in the magic of the night. "Are you all right?" Lucian's voice was soft, his thumb brushing against the back of Rylan's hand as they continued their dance. Rylan blinked, startled by the question. I don't know. I just feel out of place." Lucian chuckled, his voice low and soothing. "You don't have to feel that way. You belong here more than you realize." Rylan's heart skipped a beat at his words, but before he could respond, the music shifted. The slow waltz became faster, and the room erupted in a new wave of energy. People laughed and cheered as they whirled and spun across the polished floor. The sudden change in pace made Rylan's head spin. Lucian pulled him closer, his grip firm but gentle. "Stay with me," he said, his eyes locking with Rylan's in a way that made the world around them feel like it had stopped. Rylan nodded, trying to ignore the racing pulse in his chest. He couldn't deny the pull he felt toward Lucian, the attraction that had been building ever since their first meeting. But there was something deeper than that, something dangerous. The way Lucian looked at him, as though he knew everything Rylan had ever wanted, as though he knew secrets about him he hadn't even realized. Later that evening, as the clock neared midnight, the music began to slow once more. The atmosphere in the ballroom grew quieter, more intimate. Rylan, still wrapped in the warmth of Lucian's presence, felt the world around them fade into a soft blur. He was beginning to forget the life he had left behind, the café, the stepbrothers, the unremarkable life that had once defined him. All of it seemed so far away now. Lucian leaned in, his lips brushing Rylan's ear as he spoke in a low, almost conspiratorial tone. "I know you're not just like everyone else, Rylan," he murmured. "You've been hiding something. I can see it in your eyes. You don't have to hide from me." Rylan's breath caught in his throat. "What do you mean?" His voice was barely a whisper, fear creeping into his chest. Lucian smiled, his expression softening. "You've always been afraid of being seen, of being more than just ordinary. But I see you, Rylan. I see all of you." The words sent a shiver down Rylan's spine. He had never thought of himself as anything special, anything worth seeing, but the way Lucian said it made him believe that maybe, just maybe, he was something more than he ever imagined. Before Rylan could respond, Lucian's hand slipped from his, and the prince took a step back, his eyes never leaving Rylan's. "I'm glad you came tonight," Lucian said, his voice softer now, almost distant. "There's much more to this night than you know." Rylan's heart raced. "What do you mean? What's going on here?" Lucian paused, a moment of uncertainty crossing his face. "You'll see soon enough," he replied, his tone becoming guarded. "But there's something I need to tell you, something that could change everything between us." The words hung in the air, charged with a tension that made Rylan's chest tighten. He wanted to know what Lucian meant, wanted to understand the mystery that seemed to surround him. But as the clock struck midnight, Lucian's expression shifted, and the ballroom's atmosphere seemed to shift with it. The sound of a loud chime echoed throughout the mansion, signaling the stroke of midnight. For a brief, terrifying moment, Rylan felt as though the ground beneath him had shifted. The golden glow of the chandeliers flickered, and the guests around them seemed to freeze, their movements slowing as the spell of the ball began to fade. Lucian's eyes darkened as he turned back to Rylan, a strange intensity in his gaze. "Rylan," Lucian whispered urgently, "you don't understand. There's something I need to tell you before it's too late." His voice held a desperate edge, as though time were running out. But before Rylan could ask him what he meant, a sudden, powerful force gripped his chest, and everything around him began to blur. The music, the laughter, the faces, everything faded into a haze. His legs buckled beneath him, and he felt himself falling. When Rylan opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the ballroom. The vibrant colors, the laughter, the energy, everything was gone. He was back in the small apartment above the cafe, lying in his bed, drenched in sweat. His heart was racing, his chest tight, as though he had been running for miles. Rylan's breath came in shallow gasps as he tried to steady himself, confusion and fear flooding his mind. Had it all been a dream? Had he imagined the entire night? But then he noticed the invitation. The one he had received from the mysterious man, laying on the nightstand beside him. The golden lettering still gleamed in the dim light of the room, as if it hadn't been touched by time at all. Rylan's pulse quickened. This wasn't over. The night, the ball, Lucian, they were all real. And whatever had happened after midnight, it wasn't just a dream.